Okay, so this is going to be my review of the final trade of the Amazing X-Men run. And I gotta say, it sucks that this got canceled, because this was a lot of fun. This series was, as the title implies, amazing. Now, this is, like I said, the final volume of the trade that I got this along with the first two volumes during my time at the convention I went to, and yeah, I'm so glad I managed to pick up all three volumes of Amazing X-Men because, as I said, this series is in fact amazing. Now, this volume is called Once and Future Juggernaut, and while there is a Juggernaut story in there, there is also a few mini-stories as well, involve two one-and-done stories and a annual, which I'll also be talking about. So, while this Amazing X-Men only lasted 19 issues, I guess with the annual it would be a total of 20, really? But anyway, I digress. So, let's talk about the one-and-done stories. Now, the first one-and-done story revolves around the young X-Men character Anoli going on a first date with a human, as you guys, for those who don't know, Anoli's gay, and he's trying to, his potential love interest knows he's a mutant, but he doesn't know that he looks so outlandishly different. And plus, he's also being hounded by one of Mastermind's daughters, who is more or less just psychologically torturing him. So, meanwhile, Northstar and Nightcrawler go out looking for Anoli, and this really delves into one of two things, Anoli is actually kind of like the interesting thing about him is that he's the best of both worlds, because much like Nightcrawler, his appearance makes him look like a monster and stand out to everyone around him. And also, he's gay like Northstar, who also feels that ostracization as well. So, yeah, having Nightcrawler and Northstar being the ones to come to his rescue makes a lot of sense. And I really enjoyed this story because it also touches on Nightcrawler. As most of you guys know, Nightcrawler is very religious, and if you guys follow religion, yeah, it doesn't look down on unfortunately, a majority of religions do not look too kindly upon same-sex marriage. So I thought that was very interesting to kind of touch. It doesn't really get too preachy. That's what I like about it, is that Nightcrawler and Northstar have this heart-to-heart about, Northstar being gay, and Nightcrawler says, "Look, I never cared. I saw you, you were, the last I remember, you were in heaven with me, fighting to protect it. That's all that really matters to me. I never cared." And I really like that. I like how Nightcrawler's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. It never mattered to me. And the other thing is that Northstar and Nightcrawler were never that close, and Northstar reveals, yeah, because I thought you hated me because, well, the way I am. And Nightcrawler's like, no. It's a nice story because, again, I feel like Anoli's like the best, not best of both worlds is not the right word to use. I'm sorry, that's not the right word. But he does feel the same kind of ostracization that Northstar and Nightcrawler felt. So I really did like that. I really did like this story. It does have a very sweet ending to it. I really enjoyed it. Next is an Axis tie-in that follows Nightcrawler. After the events of Axis, he's now become evil, and Mystique is now good, and Mystique is trying to stop him from killing a priest who turned the whole original German village that Kurt lived in, and trying to kill him. Yeah, he's trying to find the priest who in the German village that Kurt once lived in, he turned the whole town against him, thinking he's a demon. So from there, Mystique, for those who don't know, Axis turned all the villains good and all the heroes evil. So in here, Mystique is trying to protect her son, who is gone completely evil, and yeah, if you got Nightcrawler is scary if he was evil. Just think about how powerful and how dangerous he could be as a villain. Just think about that. Anyway, that story's really good. It's a nice, Axis was just an event to me. If you liked Axis, that's totally fine. Me personally, I just did not care for it. And then we move on to the main story. The main story is the 5-part story, Once and Future Juggernaut, which follows around Sidorak the Sidorak gem has returned to Earth, and now it's looking for a new host. And it's actually calling out to new hosts. And among those hosts are Crossbones, the Living Monolith, yeah, very classic X-Men villain, Mankiller, and several other C-list villains who all believe they can be the new avatars of Sidorak. and Colossus senses this. He goes to Storm, who, keep in mind, this is after Wolverine's death. So yeah, Xavier's gone, Logan's gone, and now Storm's kind of pissed off. She's kind of pissed off at everything, and she kind of takes her anger out on Colossus in here, because of course Colossus was, as you guys remember, he was Juggernaut for a short time. And yeah, he says, I want to prove myself to you, and she's like, no. And it's kind of interesting because, yeah, Storm's a little bitchy, but at the same time, you can understand why she's angry, and why she's angry at Peter, because, yeah, he's here because Logan said so, Logan's gone, and now you're my problem. And plus, she's kind of taking her anger out on him. But at the same time, it's like, well, you didn't really oppose him at all during the Wendigo event last story arc, but I guess now that Wolverine's gone, I suppose now he's just the whipping boy, right? Whatever. So the team consisting of Northstar, Nightcrawler, Rockslide, Pixie, Rachel Summers, well, Pixie and Colossus go there against their will because Storm said no, but Colossus convinces Pixie to go take him to the temple. And the other Iceman and the other X-Men, Storm and all of them, go to the temple, while at the same time, another person heard the call of Sidorak, and that person is Kane Marco. So, Kane Marco goes out as well to find the Gem of Sidorak, mostly because he says he wants to destroy it. But yeah, so the fight goes on against all the other the lesser Marvel villains who want to become the new Juggernaut, but eventually, one person in particular gets it, the Living Monolith. So you know what we get? We get a kaiju-sized Juggernaut. Just let that sink in for a second. A kaiju-sized Juggernaut. Just let that just seep in there for a second, and just realize of how bad of a situation that could be, more or less. Yeah. But all in all, that doesn't last long, I'll say that much. And from there, Kane becomes the Juggernaut again, but he doesn't go right to necessarily going back to evil. He actually wants to go out and hunt down Scott, because of course, as we guys remember, Scott murdered Xavier. And yeah, he's one tends to get a little pissed off when you murder someone's brother, and the X-Men are like, well, you never cared about Charles. Why do you care now? And he's like, well, Charles is the only person who ever gave a shit about me, so and I wasn't there for him when he died, so I'm going to go out there and beat the shit out of Cyclops. Well, all's fair. Kane Marco is back to being the Juggernaut, and yeah, it's a cool story. It's a very cool story of seeing all these other characters, and even a kaiju-sized Juggernaut. That was pretty awesome. But anyway, it's a cool story arc. The annual in here is interesting because it's Storm-centric and following on this dark god who wants to replace Storm. It's a little out there, and I guess it takes place before the death of Wolverine, so yeah. Anyway, all in all, this is a cool, this was a cool end to a very cool series, and I really enjoyed Amazing X-Men. I really wish it stuck around longer, but what can you do? I guess Marvel continues to crap on X-Men, or was it? I guess this time around it was sales, so I don't know, which is completely bogus because I feel like the sales for this comic were awesome. The humor was great. Everything about this comic was great, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of Amazing X-Men. But yeah, also, like I said about the last two volumes, this deals with a lot of supernatural stuff. Aside from the two one-and-done stories, this again deals with a supernatural story arc, because if you guys remember, Sidorak's a demon. So yeah, the last volume was the X-Men fighting Wendigos, and the volume before that were the X-Men in Heaven and Hell. So yeah, it was all these X-Men stories in Amazing X-Men just revolved around the X-Men dealing with supernatural events. Anyway, so once again, hope y'all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.